Hello everyone, it's me Clayton. I just finished watching X-Men 97 episode 9, the penultimate episode and also the second part of Tolerance is Extinction. So after Magneto was freed from his bonds by Val Cooper, he basically decided to alter the tectonic plates of the Earth, and basically he decided to alter Earth's magnetic pole. So those changes to Earth and its entire structure will become permanent in less than 12 hours. So the X-Men have to work together to not only defeat Bastion as well as Mr. Sinister, but they also need to get to Magneto and convince him to save the world before it ends up being inhospitable to both human beings and mutants alike. But Magneto's actual purpose of doing this is to create a new Genosha to replace the one that was destroyed earlier in the season. And Rogue as well as Roberto decide that, you know what, humanity's just not worth saving at this point, and they decide to work with Magneto. It's kind of weird that Magneto doesn't have his Brotherhood of Mutants anymore, but I guess maybe something happened to them in between the series or at the end of the first series to justify why they weren't helping him. Regardless, it's a pretty packed episode as we follow two major teams of X-Men. The first team that faces off against Bastion and Mr. Sinister, which is Beast, Morph, Cable, and Jean, with Storm and Forge fighting out off a huge army of Sentinels, while we also have Jubilee, Wolverine, Cyclops, and Professor X facing off against Magneto. So naturally, there's a lot of fighting, there's a lot of powers being used, a lot of creative animation, and there's even a bit where Jean has to fight for her life against Cable, since he's now being controlled by Mr. Sinister. Well, I figured this would happen, considering that Sinister was the one who gave Nathan Summers the techno-organic virus to begin with. Yeah, Mr. Sinister keeps on reminding me of how he's probably one of the most vile characters in Marvel's entire Rogues Gallery. And considering it's in the same season that has both Bastion and Henry Gyrick, that's saying a lot. You could also say that this is a good episode to show the differences in philosophies between Magneto and Professor X. Professor X always tries to go for the peaceful solution to help mutants and humans coexist together, whereas Magneto basically believes in mutant supremacy because he thinks the only way to get the oppressors to leave is to basically beat them all to death. You could say it's basically Martin Luther King's philosophy versus Malcolm X's philosophy, and that's basically how their philosophies were based on, according to Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, and that was basically done through Chris Claremont's storylines the best. So it is nice to finally see Professor X and Magneto try to hash things out like this, with literally the fate of humankind at stake here. Plus, we also have one of the scenes from the comics that I never thought would get adapted, when Wolverine looks like he's finally going to actually put a stop to Magneto's madness, only for Magneto to rip out his entire adamantium skeleton. Granted, Wolverine has a healing factor, he can probably survive this, but it is one of the gnarliest ways we've seen Wolverine getting mangled in the comics, and it's crazy to finally see it in one of these adaptations. It's been around for a while, and yet we had never seen that in an animated show or live-action film until now. So it's definitely cool to see it in this way here. So how are they going to wrap things all up for the finale? I'm eagerly awaiting that. See you next time.